after what you saw last night, I get it. It's just one game in. But do you still have them winning 50 games in Western Conference Finals appearance?
Yes.
Sticking with that?
Yes, I'm sticking with that. I'm sticking with that because I don't trust the rest of the Western Conference. I don't trust Portland in the playoffs. I don't trust what Utah is going to be able to do as much as I love my man Donovan Mitchell. I don't trust what they're going to do in terms of their collective talent in the postseason. And I don't trust Houston. I know Houston is a big-time team. CP3 and James Harden are superstars, no question about it in my mind. But losing Ariza and Mbah Moute, losing your defensive coordinator in Bizdilic, who retired, leaving everything to the devices of Mike D'Antoni, I think that they're going to be severely compromised defensively. And Mike D'Antoni, I'm not disrespecting him. He was my coach of the year last year. I genuinely like him. I'm just telling you, that's not his forte, defense. His forte is offense. They're going to outscore most people. They're going to win their 50 games. But I don't think they're going to be the same team that they were last year in the playoffs. And as a result, I think the Lakers have the capability of taking them. And, of course, I think that Oklahoma City and San Antonio, I can't dismiss them. But I'm going to look at LeBron. He ain't got to go up against all of them. He just got to go up against two of them. And as long as it ain't the Golden State Warriors, I think the Lakers will be together at that time enough to validate my projections, which is that they're going to the Western Conference Finals.
I think the over-under wins with the Lakers is 48, and I'll take the under. They look like this is – first of all, the Western Conference is tough during the regular season. This looks more like 46 wins to me. Now, I do think that they will win a playoff series. Because of the reasons, Stephen A., that you point out. LeBron James has some talent around him. He's not getting bumped without a playoff series win. But I feel differently about, first of all, the Rockets are going to be fine. They're not going to be what they were last year, as I told you, when they lose Ariza and Luke, and replace them with Carmelo. They won't be as good as they were last year. But they'll be better than the Lakers. And Utah, I think you're sleeping on Utah. That is a really good defensive team. And the question with them always is, did they have a guy that could get them to the next level, a kind of standout offensive star? And that's exactly what Donovan Mitchell is. Now, if Dante Exum was what they thought, some people thought he might be out of the draft originally. If he was a guy like that, then I'd have no problem. Utah, I think, might be better than Houston. As it is, they're really good defensively. They have nice role players. Ingles is much better. He looks kind of like dumpy, but he's actually a good player. And you have other guys on that team who can do their jobs, and Gobert is a defensive superstar. So I think Utah is just going to be too much for the Lakers. They've also been playing together for years now. Houston's too much for the Lakers. Obviously, the Warriors, meaning they don't make the conference finals. 46-7 wins, one playoff series win.
I disagree. You know how I feel. You know how I stand with it. Listen, Utah's a good team. Most of the teams that we're talking about in the West are good teams. So I'm not disagreeing with that portion. But I think come playoff basketball, it's a different beast. And I think when you're a marquee, it matters. When you're in L.A., it matters. When you play in a system that facilitates you getting calls and things of that nature, I think it matters. And so for me, in the end, when I look at all of those other teams, I literally look at them and ask the question, are you going to beat LeBron? Are you going to get favorable calls? Those kind of things.
Stephen A.,
I don't see it.
It can't just be LeBron. So who else on this team needs to step up and help him the most?
I've already said it. I said Kuzma got to do it. Ingram has got to do it because they need to help Lonzo and Rondo. If they're not spreading the floor with their perimeter play, the Lakers are not going to get it done. Josh Hart, I think, is going to play an elevated role because he can play, and more importantly, he's not afraid to launch it. And he's an accurate enough three-point shooter where you're going to give him the ball and let him launch some shots. I look at it from that perspective. I think you'll see more Josh Hart than ever before. So it's one of those situations where, again, those are the guys that have to step up because if Rondo and Lonzo are to give us anything, it's going to feed off of LA's perimeter success. If they have no perimeter success, they're going to be strictly a two-point scoring team. And you're right, Max, they won't even win 46 games.
Rondo is a better three-point shooter than people realize because he used to be the worst shooter ever, and he's developed himself into an adequate three-point shooter.
He shows up in the postseason.
And in the postseason, he's fine. I'm not worried about Rondo. To me, as I said yesterday, Lonzo's the whole shooting match. Whatever you think about Ingram, Stephen A., we can see he can play at an NBA level. Just about at a starter level already, like average kind of starter, but he's ascending. Kuzma can play. As a rookie, you could see, he was considered one of the steals of the draft on draft day. And as a rookie, you could see this guy can shoot, he can play. It's not about what he's going to be. It's about what he already is. With Ingram, it's about what he's going to be. But what he already is he's okay. Josh Hart is already a nice player. He's a lot like Kuzma. He's already polished to an extent because he can shoot it and he can play defense. It comes down to Lonzo Ball, as I've been saying. Just think about Lonzo Ball as a star player. Forget about being Jason Kidd or a Hall of Famer. Just a star player. If you think about him that way, I'm not talking about necessarily just his shot or him being more aggressive. Just imagine he's a star. Your entire perception of this Lakers team changes. How many wins they have, what they can do in the playoffs, their championship aspirations, everything. He's the number 2 overall pick. If you think of him as more like D'Angelo Russell, yeah, he can play in the league, but he's not a star. You can do better. If you think of him that way, Lakers ain't going to do it. It comes down to Lonzo's play this season.
Well, if you asked a question earlier as to whether or not Magic believed it or was he just blowing smoke when it came to Ingram. The question is, was he doing that with Lonzo? Because he said, quote, I think, we did great in the draft. We didn't have time to get into it. You passed up on Jason Tatum to draft Lonzo Ball. I don't want to hear that you did great. If you did great, it's because you stole Kuzma. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't because you drafted Lonzo
what did he
with the
point out?
number 2 overall pick. I'm sorry.
See, think about this. He's talking about Ingram is the guy. We did great because we got Lonzo. He's pumping up Ingram and Lonzo, the 2 upside guys.
Yeah.
He's quieter on Hart and Kuzma, the steals, and the more polished guys. That tells me he wants to keep Kuzma and Hart, and he's planning on Ingram and Lonzo in a package to get him a start.
We gotta leave it there, guys.
He ain't thinking about letting go of Kuzma. I promise you that.
Right.